Tuesday morning. Man, that thunder and lightning is going crazy out there, folks, here this morning. Hopefully, your commute in is going well. I'm Stephen McCollum, and of course, you're watching McCollum on Business live here at 7 a.m. on YouTube. And we appreciate you joining us for the next 30 minutes or so. But we'll look into the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, the what's happening generally around the market here on this Tuesday, and kind of a quiet day around there compared to other times we look at it. And it's not delayed at all here with this rainy weather here in Phoenix here this morning. Hopefully, it cools us down a little bit, right? But let's get into it with the market watch. It, not a lot going on out there that kind of roils the markets, Earnings reports are going wild right now. We're in earnings season, so a lot of that is affecting the market. NASDAQ, well, chip sell-off continues here today, so that's affecting the NASDAQ. That's way down here this morning. Right now, the Dow Jones is up to 343 points to 52,584. The S&P 500's down 19 points right now for it. NASDAQ, as I told you, chip sell-off, 280 points down, 24,651. The Russell 2K, it's down 13 points to 2937 for that small cap index. Bitcoin, well, still staying in that low 60,000 range. It's been in 65, 64 last week and a half or so. 63,089 for Bitcoin here today as well. Stocks that we're paying attention to at the beginning of the show, the one everybody's paying attention to today is Coca-Cola. We told you yesterday about, their wholly owned subsidiary, that healthy milk drinking place that they're having cyber attacks. Forget what it's called off the top of my head right now. And so we knew their earnings reports were coming out today. They said they didn't expect earnings to be affected by that company being shut down for a little bit, with supplies or anything. Coca-Cola's earnings report gives them 6.11% up right now on the market. And Coca-Cola topped earnings expectations. They even hiked their full-year outlook as well. Coca-Cola posted adjusted earnings per share of 97 cents. Well, the estimate out there was 93 cents by analysts. Revenue came in at $13.38 billion. Well, that exceeded the $13.16 billion that was expected by analysts. So strong numbers there by Coca-Cola Company. They're being rewarded today with their stock up 6.37% right now. Next up, an old company I used to work for about 20 years. We'll talk about Sherwin-Williams Company out there. They did a big price increase, like they do every year, and their numbers don't hit. And this year, their numbers are hitting. And they're still going to do a big price increase, but I digress. Sherwin-Williams rose here, like I said, 7.35%. They reported second quarter results that did beat Wall Street's expectations. They earned an adjusted $3.70 per share. The expectation was only $3.52 per share. The revenue came in at $6.79 billion. Well, the revenue expectation was only $6.6 billion. Sherwin-Williams also hiked its full-year earnings outlook with this news. So they're up 7.26% here today on this Tuesday, Sherwin-Williams Paint Company. Now I shouldn't say paint company, Sherwin-Williams Company. They do more than just paint these days. Then we got Johnson & Johnson. This is going to be our first story of the day. But right now, their stock is up 2.93% here this morning. Well, they agreed to settle thousands of lawsuits alleging some of its talc products caused ovarian cancer. Now, Johnson & Johnson will pay basically $5.5 billion when it's all said and done to resolve these lawsuits. Obviously, you getting kind of that unknown off of a company, I know it's a lot of money, right? Stock should go down. Well, it's the uncertainty of settling this information is what's causing it to go up 2.95% today. That will be our first story here in just a moment. But first, later on in the show, I should say, we're going to look at Corning, Hilton Worldwide Holdings as well, and then a company called Happen, which is a bank that used to be called Lending Club. They've changed their name to Happen out there. We'll look at their stock here today as that is in the news also. But first, let's give you more information on that Johnson & Johnson deal. And $5.5 billion is what they agreed to basically finish up, get rid of the remaining lawsuits that claim their talc products caused ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson has been fighting talc-related lawsuits for more than a decade, but they did say that the settlement is conditioned on at least 95% of remaining claimants participating. A U.S. bankruptcy court judge, if you remember, denied a $9 billion settlement proposed by company subsidiary Red River Talc last year. That would have been one of the biggest mass tort settlements in history at that time. Now Johnson decided not to appeal that rejection of that $9 billion settlement, and they decided instead to fight it in court, which is what they've done. And now a federal judge last week ordered plaintiffs in the case against Johnson & Johnson to actually show why the remaining pending talc claims should not be dismissed after the witnesses could not provide a direct link between the company's product and cancer. As part of the settlement proposed this week, Johnson & Johnson will make an initial payment of no more than $3 billion next year, and then it's going to have no additional payments due until 2028. So it's going to get spread out a little bit for Johnson & Johnson as well. Johnson & Johnson also said with this agreement that they previously settled about 95% of the filed lawsuits for that mesothelioma, that's the cancer, in a tissue surrounding organs like lungs and the heart. They also said all state consumer protection claims have been settled, and all talc supplier disputes have been settled as well. So Johnson & Johnson kind of getting some clarity here on those lawsuits that they've been involved in. And, Johnson & Johnson bought that company on top of it. They kind of got roped into this lawsuit after buying them and, now trying to get that settled as well out there. Now, this is exciting because it's going to shut down, hopefully, shipping lanes and things to get products here to the United States a little bit quicker. Yeah, we're talking about that new bridge that links Canada to the U.S. over there at Detroit. Detroit's its American side of it. Windsor is the northern side. Well, it actually officially opened this week to trucks, cars, and other vehicles. So, years long project. Now, this is the bridge that's been caught up kind of by the international politics. Every time President Trump employs something against Canada, tariffs or whatever, they get mad, they throw fits, they kind of threaten this bridge. And just like last week, they did a ribbon cutting ceremony on the Canadian side. Well, they disinvited all American people after Trump put that 50% tariffs on Canada as well. So this bridge has been through it with the politics that are happening out there. Now, Gordie Howe is what this bridge is named after, the hockey legend, right? Mr. Hockey. And descendants of Gordie Howe, were among the first to cross over the Detroit River. Now, Detroit and Windsor, Ontario, as I told you, is kind of where it goes to. Now, other people, they were kind of celebrating it, especially on the U.S. side, right? A U.S. Senator Gary Peters from Detroit, or Democrat from Michigan, he rode a motorcycle across it. Even the governor of Michigan, well, drove a Ford Mustang with the top down across the bridge as well. Politics. So it's a 6-lane span. It was built by Canada at a cost of 6.4 billion Canadian dollars. It's now a least expensive alternative, because the Ambassador Bridge, which is how you got across before, is privately owned and costs money. And they had the monopoly on big trucks carrying goods worth billions between the two countries. So now a lot of cars, a lot of car parts go across these bridges. So this bridge was built by Canada to drive down the expense of driving stuff and imports into America moving forward. More than 70% of Canada's exports go into the U.S., which means America is the largest trade partner for Canada. Detroit is the number one port for truck traffic in the U.S. Canadian border. And that's all according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. This bridge is 1.5 miles long. It rises 151 feet above the river at its highest point. So if you're going to that area or you're in that area for the next week or so, August 5th is pedestrians and bicyclists will be able to cross it for free. Actually, I'm sorry, they will be able to start it starting August 5th. Doesn't end August 5th. Yeah. So there you go, folks. New bridge. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that privately owned bridge. Do they just have to lower their prices down? By the way, Canada does charge a toll to cross it as well. Um, and 50% of that toll does go to the United States. That was negotiated. by the U.S. by the Trump administration with Canada as well. Interesting things happening in the car business. There's a bill going through. Speaking of cars, going through the Senate right now, and it could lead to well-known brands being banned here in the U.S., namely Mercedes Benz. Yeah, Mercedes Benz faces a potential complete ban on selling connected vehicles in the U.S. specifically. And this is all because of that legislation targeting automakers with significant ownership ties to China. So, Mercedes Benz, obviously, significant ties to China. And, big threat here coming their way. The Senate Commerce Committee advanced a measure last week. It's going to bar the sale of connected vehicles in the U.S. by companies with more than 15% ownership by Chinese entities. So that could affect Mercedes Benz, which is a German automaker, but two Chinese investors hold stakes totaling about 20% for Mercedes Benz. So a couple senators out there, they sponsored that bipartisan legislation. It was a Republican and a Democrat, and it would codify and expand restrictions established under the Biden administration. Now, they're arguing with this bill that it closes the door on Chinese origin vehicles, software, and key components at every stage. So, from production, importation, even all the way up to the sell point, so that data gathered on U.S. roads can't be funneled back to the Chinese government, is what they're trying to protect here. Now, some senators are against it, right? Like Senator Cruz from Texas, obviously a Republican. He chairs the Commerce Committee. He warned that Mercedes Benz, well, they could effectively be shut out the U.S. market if this becomes law. And now they say that you can just make some simple changes to this law to include Mercedes Benz. But, so he's advocating that the bill needs changes and should change before it gets passed, right? Now, Senator Cruz went a little bit farther. He actually accused General Motors of pushing this bill through to cut Mercedes Benz out of the market. Why would GM want to do that? Well, make its Cadillac brand more appealing. If you can't get your Mercedes Benz, well, you're going to look at Cadillacs by that contention as well. Obviously, GM contends the legislation does not attempt to target an individual automaker. GM actually said it supports policies that protect and strengthen American manufacturing and the global competitiveness of U.S. automakers. Now, for that response, Mercedes Benz highlighted, well, its extensive U.S. operations. They even stressed that it continues to support legislation designed to protect U.S. national security. So, and it all comes down to just two people investing in Mercedes Benz at that 20% level. The bill includes a process through which manufacturers actually could seek Commerce Department authorization for their vehicles that otherwise would be prohibited. So, right now, there is a area to, you know, appeal it to keep selling vehicles here in the United States. GM intends to move production of its Chinese-made Buick Envision to the U.S. for the 2028 model year, and Ford, as you know, has agreed to transfer Chinese-made Lincolns over to the U.S. as well, moving forward. So, big legislation passing through, but it could have those consequences of a German brand being banned here in the United States as well. So that's how much they're kind of worried about this national security issues. I mean, we all remember the TikTok battles, right? When they were owned by Chinese ByteDance at that time, and and how they just don't, national security issues. We'll just sum it up by saying that as well. And folks, you ever said, "Man, you know what I need in my life? A 24-hour flight." Yeah, well, you can now take them. Airbus completed the test flight lasting more than 24 hours. Yeah. And by the way, huge tracking online on this flight as well while it was in the air. It's an A350 jet being developed for record beating commercial flights that Airbus is doing for Qantas. We've told you that Qantas was exploring these options in the past. Well, it went to France from Melbourne, Australia, and it touched down on Tuesday. This is a key step in Qantas's Project Sunrise. What they want to do is they want to launch the world's longest commercial passenger services and obviously reshape the long haul travel because they want to eliminate stopovers between Australia and Europe. So, this is a specially adapted A350. It's specifically the model is A350 1000 ULR airliner. Now it's due to debut with Qantas's nonstop Sydney to London route in 2027 is when that's supposed to debut. They've been conducting a 2-month test campaign on the aircraft since June. I mean, just think about that. Just 24 hours on a plane, the resources, food, etc. You need to be ready for, and forget about any emergencies online and things to that effect. Airbus did say the aircraft, which is a specially designed extra fuel tank to allow it to go this far, remained in the air for 24 hours and 24 minutes. It went 14,338 miles without stopping. Then it landed at the plane's factory there in Toulouse, France. Flight tracking provider, that Flight Radar 24 that everybody watches flights on, it said the trip was second most tracked flight ever in its channels. The number one flight, by the way, a 2024 flight carrying Queen Elizabeth II's coffin. More than 3.6 million people followed that progress northwards via Canada. Now, in 2005, a Boeing 777-200LR Worldliner, well, it flew 13,422 miles. That went from Hong Kong to London in 22 hours and 42 minutes. Qantas has ordered 12 of these new modified A350-1000 ULR aircraft. It's designed to connect, as I said, the east coast of Australia with London, New York, in about 20 hours is what they expect it to be. The service is aimed to turn what was once a 5-day journey along the Kangaroo route to London into a single flight lasting 19 to 21 hours. Obviously, it depends on not just the routing of the planes, but the winds at the current time on the distance and time frame up in the air as well. So they basically want to cut out, right? Like now you can go, San Francisco to Hawaii to Australia. I want to cut that out completely, to get you up to these northern areas. So this first aircraft carries 20,000 liters of fuel. Can you imagine that with these gas prices? And it seats 238 passengers. It's due for delivery in April of 2027. Qantas expects to operate daily nonstop flights between Sydney and London starting October of 2027 with that plane as well coming your way. So there you go, folks. Wow, that's a long time on a plane, right? As you're traveling pretty much half the world at that point, right? So interesting sports story here as well. And we know, if you know anything about sports, the Dodgers and now Lakers owner, he owns the Sparks as well in the WNBA and several other things. But he's a multi-billionaire and likes to spend his money. Dodgers are spending money like candy. Lakers are trying to do it as well. Well, that business empire that allows him to do that, well, it's being probed by the U.S. Attorney's Office and even securities regulators, all over $16 billion in possibly fraudulent loans. The owner of it all and the guy that runs these companies, his name is Mark Walter out there. The loans are by two Delaware life insurers that Walter owns, were made to companies tied to him or to his TWG Global Holding Company. Now, they were not disclosed as related party transactions as required, according to the Wall Street Journal. They reported that over the weekend. Related party transactions made by insurers are required to be reported to limit conflicts of interest and also to protect policyholders because policyholders have an interest in the financial strength of their insurers. So if they're just get sending automatic loans to owners, right? They're going to be paid back. They're going to be paid back timely. Those types of things. The majority of the money used to buy the Dodgers, which is more than $1 billion, it came from insurance companies managed by Guggenheim Partners and controlled by Walter specifically. And it's like I said, the Wall Street Journal kind of went in depth on this. I saw some rumors of it beforehand, before the Wall Street Journal's report, but they really delved into it. A number of state insurance regulators investigated the purchase back in 2014. They actually found no irregularities at that time. And so now, well, relooking back into it again. But why are they relooking at it? Well, this probe began. An internal whistleblower filed a complaint questioning the way Walter's asset management firm, which is Guggenheim Investments, the way they booked revenue associated with insurers. Yeah, the FBI agent seized at least one cell phone related to that probe as well so far. The investigation then spread to examining the $16 billion in loans, which were passed through a third party before being received by the companies tied to Walter or TWG. Did an extra step in there. Was that to hide it? Is kind of what they're looking into, I suspect. Right? Was that why he was able to hide it or wanted to hide it? The insurers are Delaware Life Insurance and its affiliate, which is Clear Spring Life and Annuity. They disclosed the investigations in June regulatory filings. Now, Delaware Life, they earlier had stated affiliated investments amounted to only about 1 billion, which is about 3% of its portfolio. And then they increased that number to 16 billion afterwards when they kind of, let's say, got caught at that point as well. So the owner for the Dodgers, Sparks, Lakers, his companies at least are being invested. It's fraud, folks, is what they're looking into at that point. So I'll tell you this: it's just going to come out to being a huge fine or something against the companies. It's probably what they're going to look at because these guys are protected and have the lawyers to fight these things. So we'll have to see if anything comes out of that as well. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, of course, we keep the show rolling here on this rainy Tuesday morning, at least for those of us. We're in Central Phoenix here by the airport. And right as the show was starting, man, lightning, thunder galore, rain down here coming in from the East Valley this morning. Rain and lightning and thunder out at the house this morning, moving across town. They say, according to the weather people, I just looked it up, say, rain for a couple more hours before it does clear out. So be safe on your commute this morning. When we come back, we got a couple stories for you as well. And then, of course, we'll do another look at the Market Watch. Another chip sell-off here today, folks. So come on back. McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, here on this Tuesday morning. We appreciate everybody watching us. Of course, we're based here in Phoenix, Arizona. Those of you in California, Nevada, I know I'm going to forget some states here, right? Texas, Illinois, Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, catching our program. We appreciate you catching us and watching us as well. Appreciate it very much. And share us with your friends, would you? Of course, we're live here 7 a.m. on TME Media AZ on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, you're already at work, your boss is a slave driver, wants you in early, well, catch us on demand later in the day. Not just on YouTube. For those of you that also don't like YouTube, you can catch us on Rumble as well. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find all of our shows. All of our shows are on demand over there on Rumble. Just click on that channel button right above the videos that come up. Today's videos will be the first ones you see. If you're looking for something a little bit later, click on the channel button and go to the specific channel there as well. And then, of course, as soon as we're done here, we roll into the main event live here on YouTube, 8 to 10 a.m. as well. Join us there. Join the chat online, just like you can right now on YouTube, our online chat, if you need to, on the business side of things. And then, of course, catch the shows podcasts on the free podcast systems out there. Rumble, or excuse me, Robat, Robat, sheesh. You can watch us live on Robat as well right now. But all your favorite podcast systems out there, right? Google, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean. I'm forgetting them all. Podchaser, Apple, iHeart, I probably already said, right? Just search for the shows. This show and The Real Matrix. I'm sorry, this show does not have a free podcast system, but all the other shows do out there. The Pit Stop, The Real Matrix, which is only over on Rumble on demand, and then the free podcasting system as well. The Real Matrix on demand on Rumble only. And then you got the Pit Stop, which is on YouTube, a Rumble, free podcast system as well. All of our shows have social media except for this one and the Real Matrix. This one's coming for you, folks. We're working on, we're going to start, hopefully, be getting some guests on here and things. We have somebody working on that. And as that happens, we'll roll out some social media tied to that for business stories and opinions, etc. Out there, we are developing a TME Media AZ website as well. We got the domain, and now we're kind of putting that website together. But we'll have live programming on there, just like on YouTube. And then also, links to the on demands, but also stories, social media posts will be on there as well. So follow us, of course. And don't forget to follow TME Media AZ on X as well. So our parent company kind of announces things out there. So all making some big changes here coming up for you. We appreciate you joining us here. And now let's get back into that Market Watch. I also forgot to announce this is our first week back to 5 days a week here this week. So we will be here starting this Friday again. We took Fridays off at the summertime here and back to 5 days a week starting this week as well. So we'll be here this Friday as well. Dow Jones is up 367 points right now. The S&P 500 still down about 20 points. The NASDAQ still way down 292. That's all. Chip sell-off is continuing here today as we kind of went into a chip sell-off yesterday afternoon, continuing this morning. Then you got the Russell 2K down 21 points. Then you got Bitcoin, well, dropped a few thousand since that 65 level it's kind of been at the last week or so, week and a half. 63,103 for Bitcoin here today as well for that. Stocks we're paying attention to in this segment. Well, first one, the glass maker. Well, best one known out there. It's called Corning, if you didn't know. They're down big today, 19.56% for Corning. They have mixed quarterly results. Their earnings for quarter two and revenue were actually above analyst estimates. That wasn't the problem. The problem was revenue guidance for the current quarter. They did guidance of $4.9 to $5 billion. Well, that was about in line with the consensus. And the market didn't like that. So 19.61% down for Corning based off of that revenue line here today as well. Their guidance line on the revenue side for Corning. Now let's look at hospitality, and Hilton Worldwide Holdings is the actual company name. Hilton Hotels, as you know, 3.49% down for them. Second quarter guidance missed expectations. They even reported a beat in the second quarter earnings and revenue is what they did. They issued guidance of $2.28 to $2.34 per share in the third quarter. Well, that's below the estimate of $2.43 per share. Hilton down 3.49% here today based off of that news. Then we're going to look at a company called Happen out there. Now, this company used to be called Lending Club. They've changed their name to Happen in the last, I want to say last year or so here for them. But they were up earlier today. They're down right now 1.60% right now. Full year guidance for earnings of $1.80 to $1.90 per share. Well, that beat estimates out there of only $1.74 per share. They see loan originations ranging from $12.2 to $12.6 billion for the year. Good numbers here. That's why they were up earlier in the market day. Big sell-offs happens here as the day's gone on for this bank. 1.47% down right now for Happen Inc. as well here on this Tuesday. As we've kind of seen a sell-off happen. I mean, some of them, like chip stocks, happened right as the market's open. Other ones we're starting to see, like that one, I'm telling you folks, was up about 5% when the market opened today. In pre-market, it was like 7% up. And then now it's just constantly been going down. So one of those days here on the market here on this Tuesday as well. And We'll wrap up here with a couple other stories, and I found this one a little bit interesting out there. Um, and it's just simply as my computer's messed up, folks. So I do apologize. Give me 1 second to get this fixed here really quick. So the Depop, which is a secondhand fashion marketplace out there, well, they've done some reporting, and this was reported by Fortune magazine as well, and it has to do with Gen Z, is what we're talking about at this point. Now, research exclusively shared with Fortune out is where, like I said, we get this story. And I apologize, I'm stalling here. I know it probably looks like it. But 71% of Gen Z sellers say online resale has taught them more practical business knowledge than their actual formal education did, meaning college specifically is what they're talking about. Right? Gen Z is doing the thing where they're taking their old stuff. Like I just give it all to, Desiree Industries or Goodwill. I try to avoid Goodwill. I go to Desiree Industries, and stuff like that. Gen Z likes to resell that stuff and work that deal. And so they've been selling it in secondhand stores and getting that experience of deals, what not to sell, when to sell when, things to that effect. And it's been happening so well for them. And they think that business, basically they're entrepreneurs, is what they're calling themselves for doing that, right? Because it is an art form and it's hard work out there. And now 85% of hiring managers say candidates should be listing their resale experience actually on their resume. They'd even be more likely to interview an equally qualified candidate if they had resale experience over one who doesn't have that type of experience. Running an online reselling business was even more impressive to hiring managers than a traditional internship is. 85%, folks, of hiring managers say that is an important feature. When asked what experience would most impress hiring managers in an entry level candidate, 65% pointed to resale. 46% said the same about internships. 39% for retail or hospitality work, what they're looking for. And then 35% said social media management is important to them as well out there. So, um, this started off as just a way for Gen Z to make a little bit of extra cash. As they kind of came out of college in the worst entry level job market in decades. So they're just finding ways to earn some extra cash out there and do a little side hustle. But it could make that's ended up having them stand out a little bit among the young people out there who are looking for resumes and jobs and getting their career started as well. So it's interesting, right? Gen Z has been building a masterclass and running a small business with the resale side of it. So Depop, as I said, where the research is shared with Fortune, I know that gets confusing, but it shows Depop shows that the Gen Z has found they picked up pricing strategies, sales, budgeting, negotiation, customer service, and even marketing these secondhand items as well. And all they're trying to do is clean out their closets, and they just naturally learn something important out there in the world. Employers have taken stock of all of this, as I told you. More than 9 in 10 hiring managers say that running a successful resale account demonstrates entrepreneurial ability and initiative. 88% say it shows commercial awareness, and 87% believe it built a transferable workplace skill. Yeah. So young resellers kind of they did it just unwittingly, right? They're just trying to survive out there and earn some extra money and get rid of their junk. And they created like real actual skills out there that are highly valuable skills to the workforce as well. Many of the Gen Zers, 49%, didn't even realize their resale experience actually counts for anything professionally. And they nobody had any idea, right, that they could that could get them hired over another candidate for doing that type of stuff. That's fascinating story there on just how just experiencing life and going through those processes can really lead you to real life experiences and an edge out there at a time when edges are hard to get in this world that we live in right now with how competitive things are out there in this market as well. So it's just keep it up, Gen Zers. And everybody else, start selling your closet stuff. You do, I can tell you this, you do learn skills. It's hard work, but you will learn skills that'll get you far, and that story proves it as well. And we just finished up the primary election here, or excuse me, the election here for picking our candidates going into the main election coming up in November. Yeah. Voter turnout, not impressive here as well, as the lowest for a primary in nearly 2 decades. Yes, folks. Unofficial results are now available from Arizona's 15 counties. Voter turnout stands at just under 27%. Now, the last primary election during the 2022 midterms, turnout then was 35% at that time. So still not a stellar number, but a lot higher than what 27% is as well out there. Low turnout, lawmakers' decision to move up the state primary from August to July, they say could be a factor. And that was interesting because we got our ballots, and it was Ethan's first time voting, right, as an 18-year-old. And we got our ballots, and I was like, oh, we got time. We don't have to have it until August. And I got a text from them saying, your ballots are due on Tuesday. And I was like, what? So even I was caught off guard, and we had a ballot sitting there because I just assumed it was in August again this year. But low turnout, typically a sign of low overall enthusiasm, which I think is more of the issue out there right now as well. Lack of big ticket competitive races, right? So you're just picking between, you know, two candidates that one either really stood out, and on our ballot in the East Valley, a lot of people running unopposed out there as well that you had to look at on that side. So now this is going into the midterms though, like the race for governor. It's going to be a hot button ticket coming up in November. But picking her competitor here between Andy Biggs and Schweikert and the other candidates wasn't as viewed as a big decision compared to the one in November as well. So lower turnout, they're saying, it's possible. This is kind of a sign of possible low voter turnout coming up in November as well. And low voter turnout, believe it or not, in this election would most likely benefit Republicans coming up in November. And that's because they're the party of power. And, usually you see if there's a larger voter turnout in these things, the company, the people out of power tend to rise up to knock the people in power out. And if you don't get that big a wave coming your way, usually incumbents tend to keep their posts, or at least their political affiliation continues keep their posts moving forth as well. So, and a lot of that has to do with right that hard lining. We know what they call the MAGAs out there. They will vote regardless. So you need to counteract that on the other side. So, and everything to that effect. So now turnout is always lower in primary elections than any general election. It is. It's lower in midterms, obviously, than in presidential years because you don't have the president's vote on those as well. So it's no surprise the numbers are low. It's just that they're a lot lower than the 22 midterms coming up as well. So will it continue into the general election? Is kind of where you want to see, right? And if it does go up, how much does it go up is what you have to pay attention to out there. So November, next big election here, and campaigning's beginning, folks. We're starting to see all the ads out there and the conversations as well from people, except for Mark Lamb. He's really, really quiet. Wonder why. That's about as political as I'm going to get on here, folks. Hey, appreciate you joining me here on this Tuesday edition of McCollum on Business. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, 7 a.m. here on YouTube. PME Media, come in and join us there as well, here as well. We're going to roll into the main event here coming up at 8 o'clock from 8 to 10. Come and join us, would you? We'd love to see you there. And if not, catch us on demand later in the day. Appreciate it very much. Stay dry out there. Drive safe with the weather happening. Stay cool out there as well, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Call them on business.